It's the fourth day of Lent, the first Saturday in Lent, and we're continuing our series on Paul's letter to the Romans. I'm Father Patrick Funston from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Manhattan, Kansas, and this is the fourth section, which is called The Guilt of Humankind. Having set out his thesis after introducing himself, Paul gets down to the heart of the matter. But it's not what it seems. There's a trap that Paul is laying here. This is chapter 1, verses 18 to 32 of Paul's letter to the Romans. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and wickedness of those who by their wickedness suppress the truth. For what can be known about God is plain to them, because God has shown it to them. Ever since the creation of the world, his eternal power and divine nature, invisible though they are, have been understood and seen through the things he has made. So they are without excuse. For though they knew God, they did not honor him as God or give thanks to him. But they became futile in their thinking, and their senseless minds were darkened. Claiming to be wise, they became fools, and they exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images representing a mortal human being, or birds, or four-footed animals, or reptiles. Therefore God gave them up to the lusts of their hearts, to impurity, to the degrading of their bodies among themselves, because they exchanged the truth about God for a lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this reason God gave them up to degrading passions. Their women exchanged natural intercourse for unnatural, and in the same way also the men, giving up natural intercourse with women, were consumed with passion for one another. Men committed shameless acts with men, and received in their own persons the due penalty for their error. And, since they did not see fit to acknowledge God, God gave them up to a debased mind and to things that should not be done. They were filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, covetousness, malice, full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, craftiness. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, haughty, boastful, inventors of evil, rebellious towards parents, foolish, faithless, heartless, ruthless. They know God's decree that those who practice such things deserve to die, yet they not only do them, but they even applaud those who practice them. That was chapter 1, verses 18 to 32 of Paul's letter to the Romans, the guilt of humankind. It seems here that Paul is talking specifically about the Gentiles. He's referencing idolatry and the things that come about because of our unwillingness to recognize the way that God acts in creation, and understanding that to be the acts of an omnipotent and all-powerful God. This is a problematic set of verses for some. This is one of the proof texts for those who consider homosexuality to be a sin against God. There in the middle of this section, it seems like Paul is decrying those who engage in homosexuality, those who are created to be gay and lesbians. And certainly this is what Paul is getting at, but it's not the end goal of what his message here is. And we do ourselves dishonor and get kind of off track when we focus so much on those specific sets of verses. The way that Paul understands homosexuality as a product of his time is very understandable. He sees it as a sin. We now know that that is not the case. Homosexuals are made to be the way that they are because of the way that God created them. But Paul has an understanding that homosexuality is a sin. And those of us who are not homosexual, who want to use these verses as a way to decry homosexuality, are missing the point, really. Because not only is homosexuality listed, but all of these other things are listed. These are the fruits of an idolatrous lifestyle. Covetousness, malice, envy, strife, deceit, craftiness. We all do these things. Homosexuality isn't a sin. It isn't counter to what God has done any more than these other things are as well. And so it is that we focus, instead of on these specific sins, we focus on the larger message of Paul, that God is a creator. God has created everything. And we are supposed to worship and acknowledge God through the things that he has created and not lift up those things as gods in and of themselves. This is the primary sin of the human experience, idolatry. And when we focus on homosexuality, or we focus on gossiping, or we focus on inventors of evil, or foolishness, or faithless, whatever, we're missing the point that our primary sin as creations of God is to lift up created things as God and not to worship God himself. And that brings us to the word of the day. The Greek word is ktisis, which is kappa-tau, K-T-I-S-I-S, ktisis, which means creator, or the one who creates. For Paul, this is very important for us to understand. God is the ktisis. God is the one from whom all things come. And what we and the Jews before us and the Hebrews before them, what they have done is they've lifted up created things as worthy of worship, instead of worshiping that which created all of them, God himself. So that leads to the thought of the day. Obviously, this is a very full section. There's a lot to talk about here, but let me just leave you with this thought. How do you avoid worshiping the Creator? What in your life do you spend much more time and energy thinking about doing or spending your energy on than on God? We're all guilty of it. Paul lists a whole bunch of them here, but there are a variety of them in our own world today. We are an idolatrous people. We find reasons and reasons and reasons, as many as we can come up with, to avoid worshiping the Creator and to instead worship the things that he has created. Lent is a time for us to acknowledge this fact. On Ash Wednesday, we come and we get ashes because we claim that sinfulness within us. We claim the desire and the knowing responsibility that we have for worshiping that which God has created rather than worshiping God himself. Lent is a time for us to make that acknowledgement and then to move on and to learn how to worship and care for the God who created us. We're here at the end of the first week of our videos. There was only 4 this week, starting on Wednesday. Join us tomorrow on Sunday at church between the services at 9:45. We'll be gathering to talk about the videos of this past week, to talk about this first chapter of Romans. So bring your questions, bring anything that wasn't discussed. There's a lot here, but bring it on Sunday, bring it tomorrow, and we'll talk about it some more. And get ready on Monday, because Paul here in this last part of chapter 1, it seems like he's setting us up. And we may find that to be the case. Have a great Saturday and have a great first Sunday of Lent wherever you are, and we'll see you again on Monday morning.